like to invite Ros Taylor onto the stage. Ros. Now, Ros travels the world, developing leadership potential in employees. She's been all over the place, USA, Europe, China, done a lecture tour of Japan. And Ros is going to talk to us today about ambition, confidence, mindset and goals.
What does ambition mean to you? Speak to me. What does that mean? Is it a good connotation, ambition? Is it a kind of scary word for you? What do you feel?
It makes me want to go to work and it makes me want to perform. Without ambition, I don't, get excited about going into work every day.
Okay, and you look it, which is lovely.
Ambition to me means self-development, investment in myself to achieve what my personal goals may be, and that's it really.
Okay, ambition is self-development, fantastic. So, what about blocks to ambition?
It's very similar, this feeling of guilt, this underlying feeling of guilt that if you're ambitious, that you will be neglecting your family. There's also a bit of self-doubt, maybe imposterism. You feel like an imposter.
Right.
So help us there.
So that is interesting. It was so... I interviewed 80 chief executives from the FTSE 200, and one of the things they said to me was that they had the imposter syndrome. Why am I here? Somebody will notice and throw me out. So even at the top of the tree, people have that, which is extraordinary. So you should just go on regardless, shouldn't you, really? Yes?
I think confidence and the fear of rejection is one I would struggle with a lot. And I see a lot of other women struggling with it. It's easier not to ask than get rejected if you ask.
Absolutely, and yet if you don't ask, we won't get. We know that, but we fear that rejection, don't we? So, I want you to draw me some mountains, some hills. Any kind of hills, they're your hills. And now I want you to draw me a railway track, quite a sizable railway track on your picture. A railway track, because I'm going to ask you to draw a train, actually. And on that track, draw me a train with some carriages. Now, again, make that quite large, because you're going to put people on that train. So as large as you can do it. And on your train... Oh, you're all just finishing off. I mean, it could be any kind of train. It could be a brand new supersonic-y fast thing, or it could be an ancient Thomas the Tank Engine kind of train with carriages. It's entirely up to you, whether you want to be vintage or current. And now, on your train, I want you to draw the most significant people in your life. The most significant people in your life. Draw them in. They can be stick figures. Don't worry. Faces at the window. And I want you to name them. It's important that you name them. So I just want you to note who is on your train and who you might have forgotten to put on your train. But the major one is, where are you? Hands up all those who are on their trains. Right. Now the next million-dollar question. Hands up those of you who are driving their trains. Gosh, you're all this side of the room and one over there. Right. And are there people from work on your train? Hands up those who've got people from work on their trains. Okay, because, work takes a chunk of time. Now, there are no right or wrong answers for this. It's not exactly a well-tried and tested psychometric test, but I did use it when Big Brother, in its early days, asked me if I could predict who would win Celebrity Big Brother. And I gave them the train exercise. And I kind of hypothesized that people who had oodles of folk on their train, they would be more likely to win the kind of strangeness of the Big Brother house. And so I had predicted from Mark, from Take That, he had dogs on his train. He had, Take That, on the roof of his train. He had ghosts on his train of grandfathers past. And I thought, oh, that's kind of inclusive. I think he might win, which he did. So it's quite interesting. I always think psychology should predict stuff. And so if you're not driving your train, if we use the train as a kind of analogy for life, then perhaps you need to be. Because if we're really personalizing this ambition, you do have to drive it. We should be in charge of our train, of our lives. And if, listen, I'm not telling you, it's just a little kind of exercise. If it hits the spot with you and that you could be driving your train more, then write that as a note to self. Drive my train for the rest of my life is quite an important message to you. Do things your way. Sometimes when we look at our lives, we have a kind of lens that limits us. It limits the way we look at stuff, and we don't see opportunities. And there's something around the differences between men and women that are kind of hardwired into us. And women tend to look down the way because we're nurturing, we tend to look in. Men, the hunter-gatherer bit, is out there looking at the horizon, looking for opportunities. Now, that doesn't mean to say we have got to be stuck like that, not at all. And the interesting developments in neuroscience and in DNA is that when we change, when we actually become more optimistic, when we have more self-belief, it actually changes our DNA. They're actually discovering that our DNA is more plastic. So there's no way that we can say now, well, I'm me and I can't change. Yes, you can. There's absolutely no excuse. Yes, you can, and it does last, and it actually changes the way we work and the way we do things. There's something around when we're told stuff, that's all we see, and it limits us. We have really got to look up the way and out the way. And yes, it is difficult when you've got to go home early because the children are there and you've got to cook the tea. But there's maybe some arrangement that one evening a week you network. And I think it's important that you do that because that's where you hear stuff. Choose your networking carefully because, of course, you might only be able to do that one evening. But it's so important that you do that. That's where you hear opportunities. I work with unemployed kids, and I say to them as my final kind of piece, they have their hoodies up when they come in, and they walk like this. They look at the ground. And I said last week, actually, now you need to raise your eyes to the horizon and not look at the ground. And one guy said, but I saw 45 pounds on the ground one time. I said, well, that's lovely, but actually, you probably would have still seen it if you had been looking up. So in other words, it's that symbolic way we need to look up, we need to look further, we need to network. It's so important. And that will help us get to where we want to be. Write down your 3 ambitions. Go for it. Would anybody like to call out an ambition just so that it inspires the rest of us? You want to sit on a board. Why not? Absolutely. Yes? Start your own successful business. Fantastic. You're in the right place with Everywoman. Anybody else? Yes.
I'd like to be a black role model for up-and-coming women.
A black role model for up-and-coming women. Fantastic. Okay. Any last thoughts? CEO. Why not? Yes.
I'd like to be a feminine leader with integrity.
A feminine leader with integrity. Any others? Yes.
A world-class author.
A world-class author. Fantastic. You heard it here first. Any others?
I'd like to be
A non-exec. Superb. One last one.
I'd like to be a more senior manager within the business that I'm in.
A more senior manager. Fantastic. What I want you to do is write down some adjectives to describe yourself. So in other words, if you were a car, what car would you be and why? Not what you would like to be, but are right now. What car would you be and why? If you were one, what would you be? If you were a colour, what would you be and why? It's the why that's important, by the way. I want many adjectives as to why. Why? And let's think of a last one. Oh, if you were a piece of confectionery, the 3 C's, what would you be and why?
In terms of my car, I would be a British sports car because they have good handling. They're flexible and they can maneuver multiple situations.
Ooh, I love it.
My color is purple, for it's fairly regal. It's a good combination of red when I'm a bit more fiery and blue when I'm a bit more sedate. And my confectionery, a bit boring, but along the lines of a Krispy Kreme donut. Just because it's a bit crusty on the outside, but if you warm it up, it's really soft and gooey.
Ooh, we've got a little theme going here of a bit of crustiness on the outside and oozing something in the middle.
My car would be a Land Rover, and that's because it's strong and it goes over all terrain. The colour would be gold, because I view it as unique and true to self. My suite would be fat-free, because it's guilt-free.
Oh, right. Okay, that's interesting. Lovely. So look at these adjectives that you have because they describe you. They're another way of describing you. And the reason why this in any way makes sense is that the cars we drive, the art that we put on the walls, the people that we meet and love, our friends, the houses that we buy and pay off the mortgage on, all of that, these are extensions of us. They kind of irradiate round from us. And what's lovely about that is that now, describing yourself in the way you have, you've got a more poetic description. I'm really rather orange because I light up everything I do. Or, you know, I'm kind of fast and furious in what I do. It's important that we have a vocabulary around who we are. I interviewed a number of people for one of my books, Confidence at Work, and this guy was a celebrated sales chap, and he said he needs, when he interviews people, he needs people to know the words to their song, so that when he asks you, what is it, why should I have you on the board, you are able to enunciate what that is. This is what I bring to the party. And you should say it in any poetic kind of way you can. But you can't say a bit of this and that. You've absolutely got to nail it. And when I interviewed chief executives, these 80 chief executives, when I said, what are your strengths? They absolutely knew them. And their weaknesses were always less than their strengths. So you need a vocabulary around who or what you are. And you need to be able to enunciate that, verbalize it at any opportunity in the nicest possible way. You don't have to say you're the world's best. It's just, this is what I bring to the party. And all of us here in the room are bringing different things. And that's exciting and fabulous. And nobody ever should let you down or make you feel bad about what you bring. Very important. And I'll leave you with one last thought. Never give in, never give up. Keep driving that train and never give in. Thank you very much.